everyone, welcome to day 9 of our journaling workshop. I am so excited that we have come this far, and it is so interesting to see that you guys are committed, willing to go through this journey, wish to learn different things. So welcome. So let's talk about a few questions today before we begin this entire conversation about your handwriting and about your graphotherapy part. It's important that we stick to 2-3 common thumb rules of this so that we all are on the same page. If you're joining today for the first time, welcome to this process. What we are doing, it is an anti-anxiety journaling workshop, specially created to deal with the house arrest that all of us are part of. So what we're going to do through this process, we're going to pick up a few things and we're going to find out exactly how to solve those deep-rooted, unresolved, unattended to problems, and not given to our usual excuses of I don't have time, I am so busy with work so that I cannot see a therapist, can't deal with it, I'll look at this later because now my goal in life is to make money, have career progress, blah 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 blah. Okay, so let's be very honest with ourselves at this point in time. All the excuses that we thought were our real excuses in terms of traffic on the road, people taking too much of my time, having to socialize, networking and spending time there, or not having enough time to spend with our spouses, our loved ones, all, or also for not having time for our workouts and mental or physical growth. I'm just adding mental there. But basically following all the routines that you thought you wanted to follow one fine day, all those excuses have disappeared. And now it's you and your choices. And no one else is looking at it from any other perspective. So when all the excuses are gone and when you are left with yourself, if that doesn't make sense, then we have to do something called journaling. Exactly my point. We have to journal so that we do not stick to all these stupid ideas that we have been using against ourselves. So I'm going to tell you my favorite story. If you have been part of any module or any journey with me, you would have heard this story because this is that favorite story of mine that I keep telling everybody. So let's imagine you and I meet for a cup of coffee in this context physically after a few months, and then we actually look at a person running on the road. Now we look at that person and we wonder why he must be running. You say probably because he has a kite to catch in the sky. He wants to make sure that that kite is very important and he gets it. I say, yeah, probably he also he has a dog behind, or maybe a tiger. We're just imagining, we can say anything. And then he's running away from that tiger to save his life. We say, yeah, but what if he is running to prepare for a marathon, you say. Okay, that is also a possibility. Now, let's look at this man who might be running for any one of these 3 possibilities. If he is running away from a dog or a tiger, then he's constantly focused behind. He wants to make sure that he runs fast enough, at least faster than the dog or the tiger, so that he is not caught. The second possibility is where he is running towards the kite. So he wants to make sure that he catches the kite, and it's important, it's significant for some reason. So he gives his best shot to make sure that he runs fast enough to get the kite. And if he's preparing for a marathon, then he might wear his AirPods or headphones and he would play his favorite music, and he'll wear his correct shoes for running, and he'll choose his path to run and he'll run. Now in all these 3 cases, when we look at why these people are running, what exactly is happening, why this man is running, what exactly is the motive behind his action, we realize his experience of the running is decided by his motive behind the action. Let me repeat that point. His experience of running is not decided by the action of running, but it is actually decided by his motive behind running. So why is he running? If there's a tiger behind, then he is scared. There is fear driving his action. If there is a kite, there is a desire or there's a carrot that he wants to achieve, and that's why he is running. And if there is none of that, and if he's running because he's preparing for a marathon, then he's running for himself. So if there is a tiger, the fear driving you, or there is a kite, which we think is a better idea because at least I'm not scared and I have a goal that I focus on, in both these cases, the motives are external. That means you run because something else is driving you to run. And if you stop, you feel unhappy because obviously you will be eaten by the tiger, or you will not get that kite at all. But if you get, like if the tiger disappear, or if you get that kite, if you achieve what you wanted to achieve, then you wait because you have no other motive to run. You wait for another tiger to show up or another kite to show up. Another goal, another desire that is significant enough for you to wear your shoes again and run again. Right? Now let's look at this specific idea. When you do not know how to run because you wish to run, if you do not know how to run for your own self, without any motive involved, without any idea involved behind it, any motive which is external here involved, what would you do? You would wait for something else to guide you, to drive you. You wait for a crisis, you wait for a deadline, you wait for something outside of you to tell you how to live your life. And all the pressure that we are experiencing right now in this very moment comes because of that. Because we don't know when these external factors do not exist, what can we do when it comes to running? We don't have any reason to pick ourselves. You would think it is counterintuitive. You say, I love myself and I would do everything in my capacity to protect myself and make sure that I do the correct thing. You think so. You really do. But is it true for you? Are you really making sure that this unit called you, which means you, which is not your body or your mind, but you, the essence of you, then your body and then your mind are at optimum levels while dealing and interacting with the outside world. And this is a reminder. This is a reminder for you to take score on that note, on that ground. We cannot simply jump and believe that things are going to be okay because, I have spent all this time doing whatever I wanted to do. No. It's not the action. It is the motive behind the action. Your experience of every journey comes from the motive behind the action. If every day you wake up, and mothers feel that also, like young people, like young mothers feel that, and they suddenly feel surprised, like my friends tell me this, clients tell me this, that I didn't know that I could care for this other being, other child, other human being so much. I didn't know it, I had it in me. But the very moment the motive is very, very clear, everything that you do for your child, everything that you have to do, no matter how difficult it is, becomes fulfilling because the motive is very, very clear. The motive is like marathon in my example, because here you're running because you want to improve running. You are running because you have chosen to run. Whereas if it is external, it runs out of steam in no time. Okay, so guys, it's very, very important in this constant desire to move forward. We believe kuch bhi chalega. If it is right now the tiger, that's fine. At least I'm moving forward. If it is the kite, that's okay because I will achieve, and then tomorrow when I will have time, I will take out time and then I will spend time on my marathon activity. Whatever that marathon activity is for you. We don't know what that activity is. That marathon activity could be writing. It could be actually working at the business that you're working at. But you felt completely disconnected because the motives changed. For some reason it became external. For some reason other factors started playing. And you felt completely disconnected from the journey, from the space where you started this process of running that business or doing this job or choosing this profession, and you felt completely disconnected from it. The problem is, most of the time, we don't take any time to connect ourselves back to that journey, that motive, that connection that matters the most. Now, I spoke in one of the conversations with you guys about being 100% involved in whatever you do. Now, without that motive being completely clear, you cannot connect with any activity, right? So I call it marathon motive. I call it running because you feel really connected to the activity, because you enjoy, and it's a nurturing process. More you do that activity, it fulfills you and you fulfill it. So it's a two-way journey. It's almost like a relationship. And that relationship requires nurturing, and it requires some extra efforts. It requires some discipline. So we're going to do this in this journaling. For today's conversation, we're going to talk about what are your activities. So if you have to pick up your marathon activity right now, and by that I don't mean marathon, don't go out and start running, okay? That's not the idea. By marathon activity, I mean the activity which you're doing for your own self. So in this moment, if you have to choose an activity that can become your marathon activity, and I'm going to think about a different word because I don't want people who read that note later to think what I'm saying when I say marathon activity. But when you pick that up and when you say, okay, this activity I'm doing for myself, and my job, even when my life is not working perfect, even when my relationships are not getting exactly where I want them to go, when I'm in conflict with these people I'm stuck with, in spite of that, when I pick up my marathon activity, which is independent of all these things, I constantly nurture myself. So if you have that activity for you, it's great. It is your time to connect and probably find the motive behind your marathon activity. And why are you doing it in first place? Very important, very crucial. If we miss that part, if we miss the part of connecting with ourselves here and seeing what works for me, tomorrow when things go difficult or you get busy, you forget about that activity. You throw it out of the window. You say, okay, one day I will look at it, and it never comes back. And that's why we feel less nurtured, we feel exhausted, we feel drained on a regular basis. I'm also suggesting something else. I was talking to my sister yesterday, and we were doing an Insta live on her page. She's an actor, and she's like into workout, being an actor, like has full clear regime and all of that. I said, have you ever seen anybody, any soldier working out on the battlefield, like right on the battlefield? Have you ever seen that? Like I know you're referring to Arjuna, who said, okay, I want all my spiritual lessons right now when I'm on the battlefield, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, have you seen any soldier building his skills, working out, building his muscles, making sure he learns how to use his equipment on the battlefield? Never, right? It is always off the battlefield before you even qualify to go there and deal with it. Now, life also demands that of you. Like all the things that you feel stuck about in your daily basis, and if you think, I wish I need to have calmer approach towards it, I wish I would have had more options to think, like that time I reacted, but what if I would have thought about some alternative? Now you won't think about an alternative just like that. It is that the training that your mind requires to go through for you to come up with these alternatives, for you to realize that there are so many aspects that one can look at when it comes to these alternatives. And that's the habit. So when you pick up journaling, I am also asking you to make this book, this notebook, these pages your best friend. Instead of finding a best friend in another human being, in your spouse or in your child, and expecting them to be available every time. Some of us are lucky enough to have such people in our lives. Some of us feel stuck because these people show up, but they are not exactly what they want these friends to be, the best friends to be. So I said, why not to make your journal or journaling process your best friend and your best friend for life? By that we are also saying that what if we use this process where I can become nurturing, I can become objective, I can become honest and authentic, where I don't have to run away only to get things going, and I pause, I breathe, and I realign. When you are on GPS, when you're following your GPS and the lady in your Google app is telling you, follow this, do that, don't do this, make a U-turn here. But for some reason, if you go completely off the track that she is, the route that she is trying to tell you, what happens? She tells you to align, she tells you to come back, she tells you to make that big U-turn, and it's your time to get back on that fastest route right now. Now this pause can be that U-turn for us. This pause can be the time for us to realign with that. And what are we realigning with? We are realigning with the motives that we do not pay attention to. So if we have to identify the motives behind the activities right now, what we're going to do today in today's journaling, we're going to pick up 5 activities. Any 5 activities, any 5 relationships, anything that you believe you wish to explore further. Take those 5 activities and ask yourself, how will so what are my motives behind these activities? Just write activity number 1, or relationship number 1. Like any act that you take, you do, and what I'm saying, get the concept clear. I'm saying there is an action and there is a motive. Now action could be cleaning the house, but the motive could be, oh my god, if I don't clean the house, my father gonna get upset with me, or my wife gonna just crave, I might as well do it. That could be the motive to save yourself, which is a fear-based motive. If the motive is, if I clean the house, oh my god, I will score that extra brownie point, and then I can ask the other person, my wife, to do something else for me. That is the second, which is the desire or the kite outside. And then there is marathon, where I say I clean the house because I wish to clean the house, and there is nobody else either punishing me or rewarding me for this activity. Right? So as simple as that. 3 different aspects of the same action that you do. But we are so focused on looking at every action only from how far have I reached, what results have I achieved by doing this activity, what exactly am I getting here out of this activity, and how people are looking at me has been our habit, our approach to do everything. If we break that habit and we say, okay, let me take a pause to see exactly what motivates me. At least 3 to 4 things, if they are done only and only because you wish to do it and you find happiness in it, you add a lot of joy in your life. Like this huge amount of joy that you will realize. And that happens when people do cooking for leisure, not because they have to, but by choice. It happens when people do write, not this kind of writing, but creative writing for themselves. So when they do that, they realize that there is no other motive but to express themselves. There is no other motive but to find their connect with the food and enjoy the process. Now that's not going to happen when you're stressed out. That's not going to happen when you're on the battlefield. That will happen only and only if you take out time and if you do it when you're not on the battlefield. So guys, we are lucky enough in a very weird way to have this pause. The entire world has come to a standstill. No other generation has experienced this. You and I are the recipient of this reality. I was about to say lucky ones, but I don't know that fully. The recipient of this reality. You have a choice to give in to your fears. You have a choice to find what best you can do and push yourself to motivate yourself for some time, and that's what is happening. You push yourself and motivate yourself for one day and take up an activity including journaling, and then you don't feel like doing it. We're not talking about that. We're talking about finding an activity where you genuinely, which is your marathon activity. You do it because you enjoy it. You do it because you find connection to it. You do it because you find some sort of flow in that activity. Right? So make sure that you pick up 5 activities, and let's do this one thing. Pick up 5 activities and find how do you feel when you operate from fear? How do you feel when you operate from revolt? How do you feel when you operate from flow? So by flow, I mean, how do you feel when you actually enjoy the activity without focusing on the results of it? Okay, and it could be anything. Whatever comes to your mind, you can pick up anything. So let's talk about the graphotherapy part of it. You guys who started, who are doing S-stroke, the strokes are going fine as of now for most of you. Those who are going to start it new, just make sure that you breathe. There are 5 points to this, and the 5th one is breathing. I have I have come across so many people who are listening to these videos, watching these videos, who are enjoying people doing the S-stroke, or they have also tried it once in a while. And they hear a question and then they ponder about that question throughout the day, and they believe, good job. I think I'm on this journaling workshop with Aditi. I think I'm exploring certain parts. Now, here is my point. Now, your mind works in a very, very different manner. It wants to jump from one point to another every day. It wants to come up with ideas that would find shortcuts, easy things. And it wants to also keep the status quo alive. No matter what you do, it does not want to move into any form of discomfort. We are wired like that. Now, at the same time, we realize that if I want to grow, if I want to move forward, then I need to make some specific change. Because whatever I am doing already is not giving me the space to be calm and happy. It makes me anxious. So we have a specific problem at hand. If whatever you are doing was working, you don't have to have this conversation. You don't have to go through these questions. The fact that what you're doing is not working, the fact that there are some things which are making you fall or fail in the moment of distress, is exactly why we are having this conversation. Now, if you're not an anxiety so-called labeled patient, but you are still anxious and you can't clean your carpets enough, especially in India, because one day you do it, second day you again have dust, and third day again, if you don't clean it, it just gets accumulated. So if you don't have major issues which are external and you believe you're a strong person, then go and deal with deeper issues which we can find in minute areas of our life, where the issues are not obvious. It is not meant for anyone else to look at. So if you keep finding and fine-tuning, imagine there is, what if we reach, and I feel I keep striving for that zone to be in every single day. I hope I reach there one day. But what if we get into a situation which is extremely irritable, and your response to that is completely operating from marathon? Even in that situation, you see yourself, am I operating from fear? Am I operating from a short-term reward, or am I operating because I am fully in flow? I don't have that yet. And every day when I journal, and I am journaling with you guys, so if I ask you a question, I take out time, because I also need to clean and deep clean so many areas. All of us do. So every time you ask a question, and that's the beauty of this process, something or other that is going off in my mental space, instead of shoving it under the carpet, instead of ignoring it, instead of never ever ever giving myself the space to look at it, we are saying, let's bring it on. Let's bring it on right now. Let me look at you, so that you would not come in that moment where I am not watching and just take hold of me. We don't want that. And I am bringing in different aspects for you to look at those things. Okay? Today's question is slightly complicated, and I understand it. So those who are on day 9, guys, I think you're ready for it. Those who are on day 1 or 2, I don't think it is that complicated that we can't get it. Okay, so what we are doing is we are picking up 5 activities, and we are saying in all these 5 activities, what are the 3 motives that we are operating from. The motive could be fear, which means we are avoiding punishment. The motive could be reward, which means we desire something out of it and we want to make sure that that reward will make us happy, and we believe that that will make us happy. The third part of the story here is making sure that you are in a flow. When you do this activity, when you are engaging in this act, you're doing it because it fulfills you, it makes you happy, whether the results are there or not there. I was talking to Rachel. She is a podcaster, and she was on an Insta Live yesterday with me. And I was speaking with her, and she asked, she's also a writer, an artist, and a journalist, sorry. So Rachel asked me this question. She said, if you want to be authentic, what does it mean? What does it mean to be authentic? What does it mean to be honest? Why we keep making such a big deal about it? But what does it mean when we are authentic in any scenario? So I feel being authentic or being in a flow comes from doing activities for yourself where you do not feel anybody's approval or disapproval matters. If nobody is watching, if nobody is going to tell you, you must do this, you must not do this, and if you still wish to do that activity, or if there is no result or reward outside of it, now there is nothing else that can convince you that you should do it, because if you publish the book, your business will go. If your business will grow. If you do this, if you make, if you cook every day, your relationship will grow and will become better. There are no rewards connected to this activity. Here you are doing it because you doing it is a complete experience. Guys, let's look at it. We need complete experiences like this more and more in our life. We are realizing all the distractions that made us happy. Social media, your television, your socializing, anything that we did which made us happy is not working anymore. Not because it is not available, but you're realizing that when you are left in this enforced space with yourself, you don't have clarity about what exactly makes you happy. When all excuses are taken away, we have to figure out what exactly works for us, what exactly makes us happy. And if you don't have that realization, that process, that journey with yourself, then it's just difficult. And that's why being stuck in the house is so difficult. Okay, so let's address the issues. Let's make sure that we come out as different people, not the ones who are running away from the problem, not the ones who are scary when they're scared, but the ones who are mentally calm. And calmness also has a possibility of having a choice. You can choose from 3 approaches, and that's what we are talking about. If you don't have that choice, then you react. But the very moment you have a choice of looking at something and choosing option A, no. Option B, probably not. Option C, yeah, I think it works. Now all of that has to happen in split second, and that can happen only when you are not working on the battlefield but working prior to that, right? So I will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. We will talk about a new question. Until then, you make sure that you do your journaling, you write the question, hand write the answer, your response to it, and do graphotherapy. Do send me your handwriting therapy practice, which means the flow of thought stroke for correction. If you haven't tried it, and if you're sitting on the periphery figuring out whether to do it or not, this is the time. Now is the time. So just do it. Send it to me on Insta DM so that I can take a look. If you have a specific question, if you're struggling somewhere, if you think that you're dealing with this issue for many years, describe it in short and send a message, because every day I'm creating the questions, the content for this workshop based on your questions, based on the responses that I'm receiving, and also the conversation I'm having with people in the short handwriting analysis session. So every day we are gathering information and creating different solutions. So if you think your problem is important and you are ready to solve it, and if it can also help other people or not, just send that problem in short so that I actually get the gist of it, and I will try to weave different solutions in the content that we are creating. Yeah. So enjoy your journaling, and I will see you tomorrow at 4 p.m. Thank you.